A massive miscommunication just hit Hallis Hall, and it is an absolute worst-case scenario for the monsters of the Midway. Fans across the Windy City were feeling pretty decent about a recent medical update regarding a key defensive starter. It turns out everyone completely misinterpreted the coaching staff, and the actual timeline is straight up devastating. This brutal setback is officially going to sideline a major piece of our secondary for months instead of weeks. The entire dynamic of our defense just flipped upside down, and the pressure on the trenches is now hitting a boiling point. Chicago Bears head coach Ben Johnson stepped to the podium earlier today and delivered a reality check that has the entire fan base reeling. We spent weeks operating under the assumption that defensive back Coby Bryant might return to the fold in just 8 to 10 weeks, but those hopes were dashed when the coach confirmed a 4 to 6 month recovery timeline instead. It is a devastating blow for our secondary. Bryant has become a fixture at Hallis Hall, and losing him for such an extended stretch leaves a massive void just as the regular season approaches. The timing is particularly cruel considering we were already managing the absence of nickelback Kyler Gordon. And I'll be straight with you, hearing that 4 to 6 month number makes the recent signing of veteran safety Xavier Woods feel a lot less like a depth move and much more like a desperate scramble for survival. Woods brings a 121 career starts, which is comforting, but we are effectively losing the unique alignment flexibility that the coaching staff intended to showcase with this new safety duo. While we have seen promising flashes from rookie Jordan Vandenberg on the defensive line, the pressure is now squarely on the rest of the unit to carry a secondary that just lost one of its most reliable pieces. If our pass rush cannot generate consistent heat, how can we expect this patchwork group to hold up against high-octane offenses throughout the fall? The real worry now is whether this defense can survive the opening weeks while waiting for reinforcements, or if we are already staring down a significant structural hole that no amount of roster shuffling can adequately plug before kickoff. Misinterpreting the recovery window for Coby Bryant has fundamentally altered our defensive strategy before the first snap even occurs. While we initially processed the news as a manageable 2-month setback, realizing this is actually a 4 to 6 month absence creates a logistical nightmare for a secondary already struggling with the health of Kyler Gordon. What makes this even bigger is how the front office must now abandon their hope for immediate depth and instead lean on a veteran like Xavier Woods to stabilize the back end. It is a tough pill to swallow for those of us who watched the team navigate recent scares with players like Luther Burden III and Cam Lewis, only to hit a wall with this specific medical update. We all witnessed the incredible grit displayed by Ozzy Trapilo as he battles back from his own Achilles injury. Yet that same optimism feels difficult to maintain for our defensive backfield today. Management undoubtedly entered this offseason hoping to avoid high-cost maneuvers after maxing out the budget on a defensive line that remains unproven. They gambled on the potential of rookie Jordan Vandenberg and the hope that established veterans could maintain form, but that plan is fraying rapidly under the strain of these mounting medical reports. Watching this unit attempt to gel while missing such a vital piece makes one wonder if the coaching staff can maintain their preferred schemes. Without the comfort of Bryant's run support expertise, the pressure on every other defender just doubled, and frankly, expecting immediate perfection from this reshuffled lineup seems like a mountain we are not quite equipped to climb yet. Moving beyond the surface of this announcement allows us to see how the season outlook has fundamentally shifted for our squad. Here's where it gets interesting as we look at the reality of our defensive rotation without a key contributor like Coby Bryant available for such a significant stretch. We are forced to rely on the depth we currently have on the roster, which shifts our secondary alignment quite drastically. Xavier Woods will certainly need to step up his coverage game, but the burden for handling run support, a task Bryant excels at, now falls on the shoulders of Dylan Thieneman. Having a rookie carry that much responsibility right out of the gate is a tall order for any defensive back. This defensive line, which many of us were already concerned about regarding their consistency, now has to play lights out just to keep opposing offenses from shredding us while our secondary finds its footing. When you realize that the original recovery timeline was a misunderstanding, it highlights just how delicate our defensive plans were heading into September. With the secondary currently lacking its usual cohesion, the upcoming schedule looks much more intimidating than it did yesterday morning. Our path to the playoffs within the division just got significantly steeper, as every single snap now feels like a high-stakes test for a group that is suddenly missing one of its most essential components. Losing that level of reliability for 4 to 6 months changes how we approach every single Sunday, and honestly, the margin for error for this entire defense just evaporated entirely as we stare down the start of the regular season. The silver lining in this unfortunate situation is that Xavier Woods steps into a starting role with a massive amount of experience, having logged 121 career starts that can provide an immediate floor for our coverage unit. By leaning on his veteran savvy, we avoid throwing our younger prospects into the fire before they have a chance to breathe, which provides some much-needed stability. Think about it this way. Even if we lose that unique versatility we had hoped for, we at least possess a reliable safety net that many other squads in the league would be envious of right now. However, the downside remains glaring because Bryant offers a level of physical run support that Woods simply does not match. If the opposing offense identifies this shift early, they might force our younger defensive backs into uncomfortable situations where they have to fill gaps they are not yet accustomed to defending. Analysts are currently split on whether this secondary can maintain its form, noting that both the development of Dylan Thieneman and the eventual return of Kyler Gordon will dictate our ceiling this autumn. While some voices across the league suggest we might struggle with communication in the backfield, I have a different perspective on this. Here is where I land on this. I find the panic surrounding our overall defensive identity a bit premature given how well the front four, including our rookie Jordan Vandenberg, has performed lately. Relying on veteran depth is rarely the flashiest solution, but it is often the most practical one when the alternative is letting our progress stall completely. When you synthesize the reality of this recovery window with our current roster composition, it becomes clear that the franchise is entering a high-stakes transition period. The bottom line here is that the Chicago Bears are choosing to lean into defensive adaptation rather than hitting the panic button on our long-term strategy. While hearing that Coby Bryant will be out for 4 to 6 months feels like an immediate gut punch, it forces us to evaluate exactly how much we trust our remaining depth to hold the line during this rebuild. You should feel a sense of cautious urgency heading into this season, primarily because the coaching staff now has to prioritize veteran stability over the experimental secondary schemes they were testing earlier this summer. Relying on a player like Xavier Woods is the logical path forward, but we must acknowledge that his specific skill set does not perfectly mirror what we lost. Watching the team navigate these shifting personnel requirements is stressful, yet it serves as the ultimate test for Dennis Allen and his defensive staff to see if they can pivot effectively under real pressure. We are betting that the defensive front can compensate for the gaps in the secondary, and frankly, I think that is a fair gamble given the recent development of Jordan Vandenberg. Will this defensive unit be able to maintain its level of aggression and schematic flexibility while waiting for reinforcements to return from the injured list? If you enjoyed the video, do not forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. Bear down. I'll see you in the next one.